Keep yourself in the loop of everything football on the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast. The latest news on and off the field, be it college football, Big Ten, SEC, Big 12, Pac-12, ACC to the NFL. We've got you covered. Listen to the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast.
Welcome to the GSMC Football Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I am your host, Jeff Malinoff, and with me once again is Mark Souza. We're going to be talking about the Monday Night Football matchup between the Saints and the Redskins, and Drew Brees breaking the all-time passing record in the NFL, as well as how they did with Mark Ingram returning and how the Redskins did. We'll also be talking about what many call the Super Bowl hangover that the Philadelphia Eagles are sustaining at the moment and see if they can bounce back. And then in another segment, we'll be talking about the losing record teams and breaking down how they will do later on in the season. And then the last segment, we once again will do whatever we feel like, whatever news needs else to be said. So we'll start with Monday Night Football. The Saints handily won their match against the Redskins. Drew Brees is now the all-time NFL passing leader, future Hall of Famer, no doubt about it. But this game wasn't even close to begin with.
No, it was a very poor Monday Night Football game for me. I thought the Redskins coming off a bye and coming off a big win against the Packers would show up. I thought that there would be a good game. I did like the Saints, of course, but yeah, I didn't see a blowout. I expected a little bit more resistance from the Redskins, especially from their defense. Even their offensive line got moved around. They couldn't run the ball. Alex Smith was under pressure, getting hit. Just an all-in-all bad day for the Redskins, and it makes me wonder about how good they actually are. But you mentioned it, Drew Brees. He sets an NFL record. He's the NFL passing leader. How many yards will he tack on to this?
3,000 to 4,000 more yards.
You think that's it?
If it's just this season, yes.
Let's say he plays another season.
I would add another 9,000 to 10,000 then.
Yeah, that's insane.
So 80,000 yards roughly.
So he could beat, at the end of the day, he could surpass number 2 by like 9,000 yards. That's a pretty huge number to think about.
That's a big gap.
Yeah. So Drew Brees, do you feel like he's been disrespected or under-respected for his career?
I wouldn't say that. I would just say it's because he lives in the same era as Peyton Manning and Tom Brady that he doesn't get enough credit that he deserves. But I would put him up as one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time.
Yeah, he's got to be up there, at least one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time. It's really hard to figure out where he lands in that list, but he's a Super Bowl champion. He's 11-time Pro Bowler. The guy is incredible, and I think his career has been pretty overlooked. Do you think that in 20, 30, 40, 50 years that he'll be looked back upon as in the same conversation as Brady and Manning and Rodgers?
Yes.
You think so? Like in this era, like he
should be at least.
He should. Absolutely. The guy's career numbers are incredible. I mean, it's a passing league, and he's the passing leader
of all time.
And you know what? He's done it with he's had some good players, but I don't think he's always had the greatest cast around him. He's been doing it with guys like Jimmy Graham.
You're saying Jimmy Graham's not a good player?
He's a really good player, but when it's hard to have you don't get a lot of yards from your tight end, right? Like if you're a quarterback and you throw for 5,000 yards in a season, you probably have a wide receiver who has 1,500.
That's not entirely true. There's a lot of good tight ends that have helped quarterbacks over the years.
No, you're right, but what I'm saying is big yardage totals don't usually come from tight ends. Like, they can be your most reliable players. They can be the guys that move the chains, but it's really hard to throw for that many yards if your leading receiver is a tight end. Does that make sense?
Yes, it is. But also I had to point out that there have been a lot of Hall of Fame tight ends that have carried the receiving end load for their teams. So I wouldn't say that that's like not the case.
Who would you say other than Jimmy Graham was like his?
Vernon Davis from Alex Smith, Kellen Winslow from Dan Fouts.
I don't mean that, but
But then what were you meaning?
I said other than what I was saying was other than Jimmy Graham, who's been like his best receiver during this time.
Michael Thomas, Marquise Colston.
Yeah, but even still, I mean that like Colston, like
he was a big dude.
But he was like a decent NFL player. Like he wasn't a, you know what I mean?
He was a good fantasy player for me personally.
Sure, but what my point is that Drew Brees he's been the conductor for this cast of different wide receivers, but I wouldn't say he's tied to like one wide receiver like Montana is tied to Rice. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like Brees has done it with more players. Like he's just done it with like different guys.
Same with Brady, I guess, and same with Rodgers.
Yeah, that's true. So
Peyton Manning has Marvin Harrison or Reggie Wayne.
Pretty impressive for Drew Brees. What a career, especially when you consider that his career is almost derailed by that shoulder injury. He was almost a Miami Dolphin. It's crazy. Hurricane Katrina happens. Drew Brees rallies the city of New Orleans. I mean, he is so important for that community. So it was really nice to see on national TV on Monday Night Football. Drew Brees breaks a record, gets the recognition that he deserves. And I know that you want to talk about that commercial, that Peyton Manning commercial.
It wasn't a commercial, it was just a video.
A video, I'm sorry.
Congratulating him.
Yeah, that was pretty good.
It was really good. I liked it a lot.
What is he, cutting tomatoes or something like that?
Yes, he was slicing tomatoes. He's like, which record was it?
Which record? Oh, that one? Oh, okay.
I still
That's
have
fine.
the other ones.
That's fine.
Then he gets all worried because he learns that he's catching up to his TD passing record.
You see that picture that they showed too of Peyton Manning and Drew Brees in college, and Peyton Manning was like in his second or third year.
It was an awkward picture. It looked like.
It's hard to believe that was so long ago. You know.
That was 2001.
2003, 2000.
See, he was drafted in 1998. Third year in the NFL would be 2000.
Yeah, 2000, 2001. Cool. So the Saints get that big win, 43-13. They dominate the game. It was never really close after the second quarter. What did you make of the Saints' overall team performance last night?
Wait, which team?
The Saints. What did you think? What's your takeaway from last night for them?
Okay, I thought you said Redskins for some reason, but no, the Saints were dominant. This was a proving statement for the Saints. They just manhandled the Redskins. It was pretty brutal.
Yeah, man, it was. I was expecting a better game. So Mark Ingram returned. He had a really good game. What did you make of him last night?
He showed why him and Kamara are probably the best 1-2 punch running backs in the league right now, and he had 2 rushing touchdowns with a limited Kamara.
And they got him involved early and often, handing him the ball. They threw him that screen pass that he nearly scored on before plunging into the end zone on the very next play. It was definitely, he's a player I think has been kind of forgotten. People don't realize how good he's been for this team, and Kamara will get all the headlines and he'll get all the highlights because, Alvin Kamara is like a human joystick, basically, but Ingram's important for their team.
He's a bruiser back. He's their bruiser red zone back.
And I know we talked about this yesterday, but there were a couple of plays yesterday where they had Kamara and Ingram in the game, and they put Kamara out wide. And then they put him in motion, and then they just turn around and hand the ball to Ingram, and it's like the defenders have to be aware that Thomas is on one side, Kamara's on the other side, and then they can just hand the ball to Ingram, and he'll get 5 or 6 a pop. So
when you have that many weapons, it's very easy to fake out the defense.
Yeah, Absolutely. The Saints' defense looked really good. I want to talk about that too because Alex Smith was under pressure all night. They could not run the ball at all. Adrian Peterson had 6 yards. Thompson didn't fare much better. I mean, I think they had like 30 to 40 yards of rushing last night, which is a phenomenal defensive performance. Marcus Davenport looked really good. He got his hands on Alex Smith a couple times. They forced turnovers. The Saints, they started off the season with that ugly loss to the Bucks. They're all of a sudden 4-1. They did beat the Browns. They didn't lose to them. What do you think about the Saints moving forward? Are they a top 5
I think they're
team?
a playoff contender, definitely.
Do you think they're a top 3 team in the NFC? So you got the Rams.
You know what? As of right now, yes, I would put them number 3.
Who would you put number 2?
It's a good question. Probably Carolina.
Yeah.
They're playing really well also.
Yeah, it's an interesting discussion. The Saints should be in the mix. They were my preseason Super Bowl favorite from the NFC. After 5 weeks, they're like I said. It seems like they're quietly right there. They're 4-1. You know, great season
They'll
so
make
far.
noise soon.
So with the addition of Ingram, their offense looks very dynamic. Would you say that their offense is on par with the Chiefs and the Rams?
Not yet.
But
Chiefs
could
are not
be.
a good defense. What?
No. Offense.
Oh, you said defense.
Saints offense. So I don't know what I said, but is the
Swore I
Saints
could've sworn you said
offense
defense.
as good as the Chiefs and the Rams offense?
It's almost there. I think it's third.
They have the capability, though, right?
Absolutely.
'Cause of
With
those
the healthy
players.
Kamara, healthy Ingram, healthy Brees, healthy Michael Thomas, this team could be the best offense in the league.
They even got that rookie last night involved with the 2 touchdowns, including the one on Brees' record-breaking pass. So
That was interesting.
maybe he'll provide another weapon for
I
them.
could have made that touchdown. How easy that pass was, though. No one was around him.
Yeah, so let's talk about the Redskins. Jay Gruden, do you think he's on the hot seat? Do you think this is
This puts him on a warm. You know the seats that have warmers in some cars. He's definitely on that kind of seat. It's warming up.
Is this
It's not
his?
on fire yet.
Do you think that this is the year that he gets let go by the Washington Redskins?
Yes. I think after this season, if it's a losing season and they don't make the playoffs, he's gone.
Yeah. Do you think he's a good coach? What do you make of him?
He's a coach. I don't consider him good or bad. He's just
I was
there.
very surprised to see that team offer such little resistance last night.
He's very mediocre, I would say.
It's kind of funny because some people would call his quarterback the same thing, you know?
Wait, Smith?
Yeah.
Yeah, I can see that. After losing Kirk Cousins, I can see why.
So is Jay Gruden the Alex Smith of coaches?
I'm never even sure. Why not?
So Adrian Peterson dislocated his shoulder last night. He says that it's not going to affect him in terms of playing.
Well, he's already affected by he's playing the worst football he has ever. Like
No.
he's not.
Adrian Peterson?
He's not back to his prime. He's not going to go back to that.
Well,
And
yeah.
any injury is going to hold him back, is what I'm saying. Any injury
Sure.
will put him on hold.
Sure. A shoulder injury for sure, I think, is not ideal for a position that gets hit in the shoulder almost every single play, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, absolutely.
How big of a loss is he if he misses time? Because they have Capri Bibbs and Chris Thompson
I
as a
still
running
think it's a
back.
pretty significant loss, just because how much an impact he has on that team.
Jordan Reed was pretty much nowhere to be found yesterday. I think even Vernon Davis is
He
more
was probably
involved.
hiding under the bus. That he was run over with by the other team.
Oh, I thought you were going to say he's under the bus where Eli sits after Odell put him there.
Oh, jeez, I forgot about that. We'll get on more of that later.
But
Anything else about this Monday?
speaking of the NFC East, after we return from break, we're going to talk about the Eagles, their season so far, a couple notable things that have happened to them in the news. We'll follow up with that right after this.
Are you looking for help for your fantasy football team? Check out the GSMC Fantasy Football Podcast. Get today's best advice on who to start, who to sit, even who you should draft. From sleeper picks to red hot lineups, they got it all covered for you. That's gsmcpodcast.com/fantasy-football-podcast. We'll cover traditional leagues, dynasty, PPR, even IDP leagues. When you need fantasy help, there's just one show to hit up. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit gsmcpodcast.com for more info.
And welcome back to the GSMC Football Podcast. We just finished talking about the Monday Night Football matchup where Drew Brees broke the all-time NFL passing yards mark. And now we're going to go on to, what is our next topic there?
We're going to talk about the Philadelphia Eagles. We're going to talk about
the defending Super Bowl champions.
Yeah, how are the defending Super Bowl champs looking?
Not well.
Not great.
It's like they're still on a hangover from their Super Bowl parade.
It's been a tumultuous start for the Philadelphia Eagles. They're at 2-3. But we have some news. Jay Ajayi, I didn't even know he was injured. He's out for the season.
I don't think he was carted off the field or anything.
Yeah,
like
and
that.
even after the game, his comments were all about like, "Hey, they need to give me the ball more, whatever, blah blah blah." Blah. But he didn't. I didn't even know he was injured.
It seems like it's a partially torn ACL, not a fully torn.
So he's out for the season. He's on IR. Does that make a difference in how you view the Eagles' rest of the season?
Really puts a dent in their running game, that's for sure. But their running game wasn't even that good to begin with.
Yeah, they already had like a stable running backs that they all of them kind of played. You know, they really took that running back by committee thing like to heart with Ajayi, Wendell Smallwood, Corey Clement, and Darren Sproles, who I think all four of them have been injured at one time or another. It seems like they're always hurt. Corey Clement missed a couple games. Ajayi did too. Ajayi already had a fracture in his back before he got his ACL. So you don't think that it'll change their team too much?
Not for the long term. Not for without him they can't make the playoffs, but they will lose a threat at the running game that will help out the passing game.
Yeah, a lot of people forget that after the Eagles made that trade last year, Ajayi, I don't think he lit the world on fire, quote unquote, but I think he was important for that team because they definitely relied on him in crucial running situations or at times where the offense might not have been moving the ball that well through the air. It seemed like Ajayi could break off a run every now and then. It wasn't like he was putting up gaudy numbers, but he was giving that team an extra option, like an X factor almost. Do you think that Corey Clement, Wendell Smallwood, and Darren Sproles will be able to seamlessly pick up the slack?
Thinking about the slack picked up, maybe Darren Sproles because he's just a veteran, small, 5'6" speed guy. That, I mean, he's been kind of non-existent with the team, but those guys don't seem like backs that would intimidate a defense or would make a defense change their game up to stop the run. I think they would mainly do pass protection in that system with those wide receivers. Because a lot of those guys are receiving backs also. They're not backs you put in deep in the end zone or deep in like power through in the middle.
Yeah, that's kind of why I'm wondering because Ajayi was kind of like the one running back on their team that provided that inside run, that power running game where Clement, Smallwood, and Sproles seem like more of like what you said, like a third down type back or outside zone type running back. Do you kind of agree with that?
Yeah, they're not the conditional back by any means.
Yeah. So, what do you make of the news that the Eagles? I don't know if they were interested in Le'Veon Bell, but ultimately, I guess they're not in the Le'Veon Bell sweepstakes. Do you think that he would be a player that they should rethink and go after?
Possibly, but they might be thinking of other things. Just I don't know exactly what they're thinking about, but maybe Le'Veon is not the man they want, or they don't think needs at the moment. I think their passing game is still as good, but overall, I would say that it's going to be an interesting situation how they're going to handle the running back without Ajayi, because they traded for Ajayi to get them to the Super Bowl, which they didn't really help, but they got there regardless. And now what they're going to do without this running game, they can't just pass the ball every play, but we'll see how things go.
Yeah. Do you see Carson Wentz back to form, or do you think he's still kind of going through the rehab? Maybe not physically, but maybe mentally. Do you think that he's still progressing and hasn't gotten back to that level yet?
Yeah, but I'm not entirely sure how it's going to go. I think it's still a work in progress. Well, we'll see. It's definitely a toss-up.
Philadelphia was, or they are 14th in the NFL in rushing, 4.4 yards a carry. So, I mean, they were doing fairly well, even with their different cast of characters, different guys getting the ball in the backfield, not just Ajayi. So, maybe they'll be fine there. Averaging 4.4 yards a carry is not bad at all. Do you know who leads the league in rushing right now?
Right now? Do you have that stat in front of you?
Very surprising.
It's not, well, it used
team. I meant team. I'm talking about team.
Team?
Yeah, what team has the most rushing yards?
Surprising? It surprises you? The
Yeah.
49ers.
They're up there, but they're not number one. They're about 45 yards behind the number one team.
Oh, wow, they're not that far behind at all. Who, then?
Cleveland.
Really?
Yeah. Hyde and Chubb and Duke Johnson.
Huh. Okay.
Yeah, I did not see that coming.
I can see it, but surprising still.
Yeah. So the Eagles haven't started off so hot, but do you think that their division just makes it easy for them to figure it out and still, they're not in a division where there's a team that's 4-1 looking really strong right now? The Redskins are first at 2-2, so the Eagles are really one game behind, even though they're 2-3.
Yeah, the Eagles still have a good chance to make the playoffs. That I still stand behind my opinion that the NFC East is probably the weakest division in the league. So anyone could take that division. Like, you've seen those Instagram posts of how NFC East is the butt of all the jokes at the moment due to that loss by the Redskins on Monday night. So I don't see them just like, there's no chance the Eagles are going to get to the Super Bowl, or no chance they get to the playoffs. But they first have to get through their really rough, not so very good division, and they're having trouble with that. So a big question mark on their quote-unquote Super Bowl hangover and how that's going.
Yeah, and Carson Wentz, he's been eased back into it, so he didn't start off the season.
Which is smart.
The Eagles right now are 18th in offense, and they're 14th in defense. So they're pretty middle, or they're 11th in defense, excuse me. So 18th and 11th. I think the offense will get better. Don't we? Do we kind of expect the offense to improve even with the loss of Ajayi?
Well, they have to face their division rivals, so that might help boost up their running game a little bit.
Yeah. So they can actually get started this weekend by getting back on track. They will be hosting the New York Giants.
Okay.
The Giants will be hosting them. So they'll be traveling to
Meadowlands.
Yeah, to Meadowlands to face Eli, who's still sitting under a bus because Odell Beckham put him there.
He drove the bus also and backed up and went for it again.
New quarterback, Odell Beckham. Hey, he had a nice touchdown pass.
That throw to Barkley was very high and not very far. You see how long Barkley was waiting in that one spot for that ball to get to him?
Hey.
He was waiting a good 20 minutes.
Beckham was like, if I'm not going to catch a touchdown pass, then I'll just throw one.
Whatever.
So do you think that this is a get-right game for Philadelphia where they can go to 3-3 after beating the Giants?
It's a possibility, but even if they lose this game and have a below 500 record, I still see them as a contender for the NFC East.
Yeah. So let me tell you that their next few games. You ready?
Yeah.
So these are the Eagles' next 5 opponents. I think that they have to win this game, and I think you'll see why. They play the Giants,
Win.
Panthers,
Lose.
Jaguars,
Lose.
Cowboys,
Win.
Saints.
Lose.
That's their next 5. Then they start playing
2
some
and
divisional
3
games.
is my prediction then.
They start playing a few divisional games after that. They actually play 3 in a row. So 2 and 3 in that.
Yes.
So they do need to beat the Giants because you had the Giants as one of those 2. So they can't go 1 and 4 in that.
Yes.
Okay. It'll be interesting. They're a team right now that I think if they win like their next 3 games, then we're not even like we'll laugh about their early season kind of their early season struggles. I think it'll just be something that we forget about. But if they lose a couple of these games, the pressure might mount for them to get back to where they were last year. Do you think that it's more than just Carson Wentz coming back though? Do you think that because they won the Super Bowl, there's like a Super Bowl hangover for them, or they start off a
maybe
little
not
bit
the
slow?
hangover to the extent of like the movie, but overall, I would definitely say that took a little while to get, didn't you?
Hangover. They should have stopped after the first one, don't you think?
2 was all right. 3 was I didn't see 3
That's good.
because I heard it was really, really bad.
It was not good. They should have stopped after 1. But
Just like the Eagles are gonna.
oh wow!
I went there.
And all our Philadelphia fans are now leaving.
Yeah, we don't need no bandwagon fans.
What's your Twitter handle again, so they can send you mail?
At Jeff Malinoff, Malinoff as in Frank.
There you go, guys.
Yeah.
Go get them.
I was talking about the Hangover movie. Now we're talking. I made a joke about the Eagles winning only once. Hey, you won 1 Super Bowl. Be thankful for that. Not other people thought you were going to win 1 Super Bowl regardless of anything. You could be Cleveland. So.
How do you think that Do you think that Alshon Jeffrey being back is a big boost for their offense?
Oh, 100%. He's a beast.
He's good, man. He's an underrated player.
What's your Twitter handle so people can, if you mess up, people can go after you?
My Twitter handle is actually at Mark, and that's with a C. And get ready for it. At Mark Hella Gets It. Mark Hella Gets It.
How old are you?
Well, when I made my Twitter, I was quite a bit younger.
How old were you when you made that Twitter? You know you could change it.
Probably 25.
You know you can change it, right?
That's
It's a
fine.
very easy thing to change.
We'll keep
Anyways, so the Eagles with Alshon Jeffrey back is a huge boost, but losing Jay Ajayi is kind of like holding them back too because their running game cannot. Who's going to run the ball? Like they only have receiving backs now.
Yeah, we'll see how creative they get with their offense. Zach Ertz is obviously a beast as well.
He can't do all of the work.
Yeah, but him and Jeffrey, I think, could be able to shoulder a lot of the load.
Okay.
So that should give the running backs, I don't think that the pressure's on them to perform. Like they can do their job and be role players, whereas like Ertz and Jeffrey are your stars.
I guess Mark's hella right.
At Mark Hella Gets It, if you agree or disagree. At Jeff Malinoff, if you just want to say mean things to people.
And you could say, and we are not as ugly as you think because we're on radio and podcast.
Yeah, we have.
Well, he's married. He can. It doesn't matter with him. But I'm the single one.
Oh yeah, you hear that, ladies? At Jeff Malinoff, single ladies. Yeah. So
I hate that song.
We'll wrap this up with the Eagles. Yeah, I still see them winning the division. I see them.
It honestly could go to anybody except for the Giants.
I think they're going to have a statement game this weekend. I think they're going to blow out the Giants in the Meadowlands. What do you think?
Probably.
Like a big one, like a 45.
No, not like that.
Yes.
Eagles are probably going to take it.
39-24. 24.
I'll say a 23-20 victory for. We'll get in this on when we get closer to the end of the
Friday.
week.
We'll do the predictions. Cool.
We'll do the predictions.
So we'll go to a break. When we come back, we're going to break down. We're going to parlay this. So we talked about the Eagles as a losing record team, what their season outlook looks like for the rest of the year. We will talk about the rest of the bad teams, quote unquote, the under 500 teams that have a chance. We'll talk about which ones have a chance, which ones do not have a chance to change the destiny of their season.
Hang on tight. We'll be right back right after this.
Check out the show that's built on the MMA. From the UFC to extreme cage fighting, they got the fights covered. Check out the GSMC MMA podcast. Get the latest news on past or upcoming fights. Join us as we talk to and about some of the biggest names in the MMA, past, present, and future. When it's the fight game, there's just one show to check out. GSMCpodcast.com/MMA-podcast. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit GSMCpodcast.com for more info.
And welcome back to the GSMC Football Podcast. We just finished talking about the Philadelphia Eagles. And stop dancing. I see you dancing. Stop it. Stop it. I'll stop this recording right now. Anyways, we talked about the Monday Night Football matchup. We've talked about the Philadelphia Eagles defending Super Bowl champions in trouble going into with losing Jay Ajayi, but gaining momentum while gaining Alshon Jeffrey. But now we're going to be looking at the losing teams right now and seeing if they have a chance to enter the playoffs by the skin of their teeth or winning their division. So who do you want to go talk about first? I'll let you go.
We will start in the
NFC West.
NFC West. Whoa, I'm all messed up now. Hold on. Let me get my bearings.
We're gonna go west to east here. I'm taking over the show. We're going west to east.
Okay. All right. Here we go. 49ers 1-4. Do they have a chance at playoffs?
If they were healthy, yes. Since no one's healthy, no.
Jeff says no. I say no.
Are you my hype man?
I say no.
They're just way too unhealthy.
I mean, I don't know what they're eating, but
they're obviously not drinking their milk.
Yeah, more milk in San Francisco. I agree. The Niners have no chance. CJ Beathard is not taking a 1-4 team to the playoffs. Moving on.
If he does, I will eat a shoe on. No, I'm kidding.
Jeff Malinoff.
No, okay. Okay, if they do make the playoffs, we should do something a little ridiculous.
If the Niners make the playoffs, I'll get a tattoo.
Okay, shake on it with me.
Yeah, so
You better shake on it with me.
Arizona.
So do you think there's what percentage chance of the Niners make the playoffs?
1%
chance? Okay,
I
how
feel
many
like I'm
percent
being
chance?
generous.
All right, Arizona, 0.01% chance for me.
Yeah, the same. I'll give them the edge. I'll give them 1.1 because they beat the Niners, so they're up head-to-head right now.
Okay, fine. I'll agree with you. I'll go 1.2%.
They're not making the playoffs. Both these teams are dead in the water at 1-4. The NFC is way too tough for a team to go 8-8 or 9-7 and make the playoffs, in my opinion.
Okay.
So should we move on to are we going
AFC West?
AFC West. Oh gosh. Oh God. Let's start. Let's keep it in the Bay Area. The Oakland Raiders and John Gruden at 1-4. They are in last place in the AFC due to their differential.
I've told you this off recordings and probably on too. Without Khalil Mack, this team's not going anywhere.
Yeah, the division is too strong, and they're not strong enough to make a run like some of these other teams that we'll talk about. It's just, I don't see them being better than the Chargers. I don't see them being better than the Chiefs. They've already lost to Denver. Right now, they're the worst team in the division for me. We will see if something changes with John Gruden, and especially with Derek Carr, the offense is so hot and cold. It's hard to put any stock into them turning it around. So, how about we move on to their rival, the Denver Broncos. They're at 2-3. Do you give them a chance to make the playoffs in this crowded AFC?
No.
No chance, huh?
No.
Okay. Yeah. I'm not sure. I just don't see it. I think I like Case Keenum more than you do, but it's still Case Keenum, if that makes sense. They have a decent...
He had one good season out of 10.
My issue with the Broncos is that defensively they're not good enough. I could see their offense getting on a roll, getting hot, because they do have some talent. Like, you can say what you want about Case Keenum, but wouldn't you agree that the Broncos have some talent on offense with Demaryius Thomas, Emmanuel Sanders? They drafted Cortland
Both
Sutton.
those guys are old.
Yeah, they're both productive players, though. I mean,
they're getting there in age, though.
they have a decent offense. Their run defense, though, against the Jets, not good. So I don't see it happening. What percentage would you give them?
4.
Ouch.
Yeah, I don't give much of a chance.
Okay. So let's move on. We did the NFC West, AFC West. Where are we going?
We're going to go to the NFC North.
The NFC North. All right. There's only one team in the North
With a losing record.
with a losing record. Detroit Lions.
Wild card at best, so I'll give them like 10%.
Yeah. I'd say they have a little bit better chance than the Raiders and the Broncos, but yeah, for me, they're the fourth best team in their division, and their record says it. I don't see them making a deep run, especially if they're going to be unwilling to give the ball to Kerryon Johnson, who looks like a really good player, but he just needs the ball more. Their fascination with LeGarrette Blount will continue to confuse me throughout the season. I think that the Lions, like they are every year, will be a team that you are just disappointed with, thinking that they could take the next step, and they don't.
That is the definition of the Lions in a nutshell.
Yeah, so they're the only team in the NFC North. Are we going to the AFC North?
Yes.
Well, that's a trick question, Jeff, because there's no one in the AFC North
got you.
that's under 500.
Tricked you.
And yes, the Cleveland Browns do play in that division.
2-2-1.
Everybody's
Get
2-2-1.
ready for the end of the world as we know it. Get in your bomb shelters right now, people.
Yeah, so since we're out of the North, where are we going?
Get in your bomb shelters. The Browns winning games is very uncommon in the world. I think this means Armageddon.
Yeah, so where are we going? AFC South?
Yeah,
NFC South?
let's go down south of the AFC South then.
AFC South. Okay, this is a fun division. The Houston Texans at 2-3. What do you see?
Houston Texans at 2-3. If Watson goes back to his regular season form from last year and Hopkins is on top of his game, then I see them. I'll give them 20%.
Yeah, they'd have to overtake Tennessee or Jacksonville probably. I could see it happening. I think their defense is coming around. It's not great, but they can rush the passer. If J.J. Watt and Clowney can stay healthy and Deshaun Watson can stay healthy, I can see them going on a run. They get Deontay Foreman back. He could add something to the run game that they desperately need. Maybe he's the guy. They can't really get any worse running the ball. Lamar Miller and Alfred Blue are just as below average.
Backups.
Yeah, those are below average running backs. Maybe Foreman gives him a spark. So I know that they really liked him when they drafted him. They were high on him. Maybe he's the guy. So let's stay in the division. They're not the only team under 500. The Indianapolis Colts, Andrew Luck and the Colts, they are 1-4. What do you see?
5% chance.
5, huh?
5.
What would need to happen for them to make the playoffs?
A miracle. Next question.
A miracle as in finding talent?
A miracle as in winning games. Oh!
So T.Y. Hilton, he's one guy on their one skill position player on their offense that looks to be like a good player. I mean, he's been doing it for a few years now, but they just need more help. They need running backs and receivers that can really help Andrew Luck. The defense has been relatively decent. It's just their offense leaves a little to be desired. I don't give them a chance. I just think the division's too tough. I don't like their offense or their defense in particular.
Well, they don't like you either.
Yeah, probably. Join the club.
They don't even know you. Whoa, that was depressing.
All right, let's go to the NFC
Are you
South.
okay?
Yeah, I'm fine. Let's go to the NFC South where we see the Atlanta Falcons. They're at 1-4. Can you believe it?
1 win, 4 losses.
Yeah, that would be what 1-4 means.
Just to clarify for the audience at home.
Yeah. Well, now that we're all clear, how do you see the Falcons season going from here on out? Are they going to shake this off like Taylor Swift said and win some games so they can get back to the playoffs? Or do you see them just having a tough season, missing this year?
Give them a tough season and missing it this year.
So they have, can I read you their schedule coming up? You ready?
Be my guest.
Okay, so they're at 1-4. You got that in your head? Are you paying attention?
Yes, I am.
They play the Buccaneers next.
Buccaneers?
They play the Buccaneers.
Buccaneers.
Then they play the New York Giants. Then they play the Washington Redskins.
Win, win, win.
And then they play the Cleveland Browns.
Lose.
And then they play the Cowboys.
Win.
They have some very winnable games coming up.
I didn't realize how poor their schedule was.
That's a soft schedule.
They might squeeze into the playoffs.
They could win 4 out of those 5.
But will they is the question.
I think so. I think they'll win at least 3.
Maybe they won't brown it up like the Browns do.
Only the Browns can brown it up.
It's not entirely true.
Did you see? Was Hugh Jackson saying to go for 2 after they kicked the game-winning field goal? What was that? He had 2 fingers in the air.
I think he was saying 2 wins. I have 2 wins in a season.
He's all, not only did I win, but I won 2.
He has 3 wins total in his career with the Browns and over 30 losses.
Insane. And he still has a job.
That is probably the worst quarterback or worst coaching record ever in the history of football.
Hey, Jeff, guess what?
What?
Let's go to the AFC East. What do you say, bud?
We
have not talked about it. Let's go with the Buffalo Bills sitting at 2-3. What is their chances to make the playoffs with Josh Allen?
None.
So you're telling me right now that they have no chance with that young rookie quarterback, Josh Allen?
Yes.
And with Sean McCoy, who could run for, 1,500 yards?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. I'm with you.
Yeah, I guess. Are you telling me this?
But what about that great defense that dominated Minnesota? Then they dominated Tennessee Titans. Marcus Mariota doesn't even know what happened.
Flukes.
Yeah, me too. So, what about the New York Jets? They're at 2-3 in the same division. Do they have a chance now that the Bills are out?
1.036%.
Sam Darnold, Isaiah Crowell, Bilal Powell, Robbie Anderson, Quincy Enunwa. How does that not get you excited?
Like this.
That defense is pretty strong. Wouldn't you say?
Huh? What?
That defense.
I mean, it's all right. I wouldn't call it.
That's an underrated group they have there in Gangrene.
Wow. Can't believe you went there.
Yeah, isn't that what they say? Jets.
Jay, you know what gangrene is, right?
Yeah.
It's this horrible disease.
Yeah, but they call it that. Whatever.
Jets.
I like the Jets to have an outside chance. I know that the Falcons and maybe some other teams have a better opportunity to get back, like the Eagles as well, but I think the Jets are some sneaky value there if you're betting. Because let me explain.
Oh, I'm agreeing with you because I'm doing the Jets theme. I'm doing the Jets.
That sound like Jaws.
I know the Jets are Jaws. They're waiting for a right time to attack.
Oh, the Jets are Jaws. Write it down. Hashtag Jets are Jaws at Jeff Malinoff.
Hashtag Jets are Jaws.
It's the stupidest thing I've ever heard.
No, Jets Jaws.
All right,
coming
so
soon to a theater near you.
Let's get this thing back on the rails here.
$2 billion at the gate.
The Jets, I like them as a sneaky pick to make the playoffs in the AFC because of the division, the conference, and the unknown of their rookie quarterback and offense.
Well, I have to stop you right there because we need to take a quick break. When we come back,
we're not done. We have one more team. One more team, Jeff.
One more team, and then we'll hit break.
The New York Giants, in or out?
Not in.
Oh, yeah, we have two more teams. Dallas Cowboys.
Not in.
I'm going to say no, but I give them 25%.
How they been playing, I don't see it.
I give them 25.
I give them 15.
And then the Eagles. Yes.
I give them like an 80% chance of making the playoffs.
Me too. That's all we got for this segment.
When we come back, we'll be talking about other things and other topics, and we'll get right back onto that when we return for...
We'll talk about flex schedules.
You interrupted me. We'll be right back.
Check out the show built around the women of MMA. From the UFC to the extreme cage fighting, we got the fights covered.
Listen.
It's the Golden State Media Concepts Women's MMA Podcast. The latest news of upcoming fights, discussions of previous matches. Join us as we talk to and about the biggest names in women's mixed martial arts, past, present, and future. When it's the women's fight game, you know where to listen to. The Golden State Media Concepts Women's MMA Podcast.
And welcome back to the GSMC Sports Podcast. We've talked about Monday Night Football. We've talked about Drew Brees' record-breaking night. We've talked about losing teams' chance of making the playoffs. We've talked about the Philadelphia Eagles and their Super Bowl hangover. And now we're going on to our whatever topic of the podcast, where we talk about any other subjects we feel like talking about, such as Mark.
Yeah, so Jerry Jones, he's been speaking a lot lately in public. So we know that he was kind of questioning Jason Garrett about that fourth down play call. You remember that, Jeff? Remember that? Yeah. What? So get this.
I have no idea what he's talking about.
He said on the radio that the Cowboys have not had a number one receiver in several years. He then talked about guys.
Medication.
He talks about guys like Julio Jones and DeAndre Hopkins, and those are obviously number one receivers. Do you think he's taking a shot at Dez Bryant?
Yes.
That was interesting, right?
That was totally
for him to say that.
Dez.
Yeah. It's interesting. The Cowboys, and also it sounds like it was mentioned that the Cowboys did try and sign Sammy Watkins, but he opted to go to the Chiefs. They added Allen Hurns and Deontay Thompson, and they drafted Michael Gallup in the third round. Do you think the Cowboys have done enough to find a number one receiver? I'm not saying necessarily replace Dez, but at least have they used their resources enough, in your opinion?
My opinion, you usually disagree with. So
Yes.
we'll say yours first.
I'm not sure. I don't know if you necessarily need like a number one receiver to be successful in the NFL. I think that's probably something that is not It's not a need. It's definitely something you want, but I think you can definitely win without having a true number one. I think even like the teams like the Chiefs, the Rams right now, like they don't really have like a true number one, right? Like they have good receivers, but they don't have like a Julio or a Hopkins.
Oh no, of course not.
Now there are teams that have that guy, like those teams I mentioned, the Texans, Falcons, but even like the Steelers, Patriots, they've been getting away without a number one wide receiver.
So you call DeAndre Hopkins an elite receiver?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Top 5.
I'm agreeing with you on that one. I'm just making clarifications.
Yeah, he's so good. Yeah, he that guy, hard to defend. Let's talk about something that happened this morning. The Bengals and Chiefs got flexed to Sunday Night Football Week 7.
Replacing the 49ers and Rams.
Bumping the Niners and Rams back to a 4:25 Eastern Time kickoff, so an afternoon kickoff in the Bay Area. So, what do you think about that?
I get it, but it's also kind of not fair for the both teams that got moved from that spot. I mean, this was supposedly going to be Garoppolo versus Goff in a matchup for the NFC West, and then Garoppolo got injured as well as everyone else on the 49ers roster. So that's why they're changing it. I think just Garoppolo is supposed to be the draw and with Goff, and he's not there, so I make that the Sunday night game.
Yeah, absolutely. I wonder, though, honestly, if that game is going to be good. Like, the Bengals are playing really well right now, but do you think that like they'll make that a game? It's at Arrowhead,
well,
too.
It's in 2 weeks, so we'll see in 2 weeks.
Yeah. That was an interesting thing that I saw this morning. I wanted to talk about since Drew Brees, in his record-breaking night and how much he means to the city of New Orleans. Do you think the Chargers regret letting him go?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, fans do. I'm not sure the organization does.
They've had Rivers for pretty much most of this time.
2004, so 14 years.
Yeah, but do you think that if they could do it all over again, they would have kept Brees and maybe gone a different route?
That's the age-old question, and that's the biggest what-if question. What if Brees stays with San Diego? Do they win a Super Bowl? Do they move to Los Angeles? So many possibilities.
It's very interesting considering Drew Brees had that major injury. Some doctors
rotator
didn't.
Cuff surgery.
Yeah, but I think it was worse than just rotator cuff, if I remember correctly. But it was in an age where it wasn't like now, where like you see these pitchers in baseball that get these surgeries and their arm comes back stronger. Mm-hmm. It was before, I would say, the this age of, oh, your ACL is torn. Cool, you'll be faster next year because we'll not only
can rebuild him.
Yeah,
make him bigger, stronger, faster. Manlier, sexier. I don't know.
A lot of times nowadays, these players, they get these surgeries done, and not only are they
make him footballier.
Not only
sorry, I just came to my head.
Are you gonna let me talk?
No.
Not only are these surgeons really good at getting them back to exactly how they were, but the rehab can make them stronger. It's just crazy how injuries are seen differently. But yes, Drew Brees has that injury. He almost plays for the Dolphins. He ends up signing with the Saints.
What if he does play with the Dolphins? Let's stop right there.
Nick Saban
do they win a Super Bowl?
Nick Saban has 2 NFL Super Bowls.
Really? 2?
No, probably not. He probably doesn't have
Do you
any.
think I think he still leaves for Alabama.
Maybe, but it definitely changes
hated
it.
the NFL.
It changes the track.
The thing
the course
is with
history.
him in the NFL is he loves controlling the media in Alabama, and he could not do that in the NFL level. That's why he hates like the ESPN and all those people. Because remember when they ask him questions on like college football game day and stuff after the game, he always argues with them.
Yeah.
He hates that publicity, like when it comes to ESPN and all that stuff. And with NFL, that's all he talks to. He doesn't talk to the main Alabama like city press, and he loves doing that. So, and he kind of in that situation. So when looking at it, I think he still leaves Miami, but I think the Dolphins still have a chance to win a Super Bowl with Brees. San Diego definitely has a chance to win a Super Bowl with Brees. and so on and so forth. Like, the possibilities are endless if you have Drew Brees in San Diego with LaDainian Tomlinson in his prime.
It's definitely one of those questions that you ask somebody at a bar, and then you can talk like an hour and a half later, you're still talking about it, and then you're down this rabbit hole of, oh yeah, well then so and so wouldn't have won a Super Bowl in 2010,
and he may not even been born yet. Who knows?
Yeah, I bring this up because of Brees' big night, but also sad news to report: Alex Spanos, the longtime owner of the San Diego Chargers, and eventually the Los Angeles Chargers, he passed away at 95 years old. He bought the team in 1984, 60% he bought at the time. He leaves his family with 97% of the team owned. So rest in peace, Alex Spanos.
He was not the reason they moved to Los Angeles. We'll say that. It was Dean Spanos, not Alex Spanos.
Right.
So Alex Spanos is a visionary and a very loved guy in San Diego. It's very tough to see a guy like that and lose his life. But at 95, you live a long, fruitful life.
Mm-hmm.
And owning a team like San Diego Chargers and eventually LA Chargers, he will be missed by the community of the NFL and as well as San Diego.
Absolutely. He did a lot for the sport. So we'll leave it at that. Any other little tidbits that you'd like to talk about?
I'm good. What about you?
I thought it was kind of funny that Michael Thomas and Josh Norman got in a little bit of a Twitter feud. I guess there was some chippy play and some talk.
Was this after or before the game?
That was after the game.
Why are you talking, Josh Norman? Your team got destroyed.
A late night Twitter feud.
Like, your team loses by a lot. I think you should keep your mouth shut. No?
Yeah.
Yes,
I agree.
I'm right.
Yeah.
I think that's all we have time for.
That is all we have time for. We thank you for listening today. Again, Drew Brees and his record-breaking night.
Thank you for talking with me and letting them listen.
Yeah. You guys are welcome.
All right. We will see you tomorrow for the next football podcast. I'm your host, as always, Jeff Malinoff. This is Mark Souza, as always, and we will see you tomorrow.
You've been listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast, part of the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and Google Play. Just type in GSMC to find all the shows from the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network, from movies to music, from sports to entertainment, and even weird news. You can also follow us on Twitter and on Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's program.